Hey, family, and welcome to episode 21 of the Critical Sense Making Sessions facilitated by yours truly, Revolutionary Rika. Today is a special day. Today is the day that we celebrate my grandmother's birthday, Mother Gloria Bess Solls. And so today's episode topic is about death, more specifically, losing a grandparent during a global pandemic. Today, I have two guests on with me. Our first guest is LaVette Grant. She is a San Francisco native and a current Richmond resident who is passionate about mental health, growth, and support. And we also have with us Shomari Webster. He is a San Francisco native and a current Oakland resident, and he is passionate about family, dance, and self-awareness. LaVette, welcome back and tell us a little bit more about who you are and choose one word to describe how you're showing up.
I'm LaVette, and I'm here in the Bay living life, working 8:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, and bringing other stuff to you. Today I'm showing up thankful for the topic today. I'm thankful for that person.
Thank you. And so
You're
we
welcome.
also have with us Shomari. Shomari, welcome to Critical Sense Making Sessions. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and choose one word to describe how you're showing up.
Ooh, who I am. Man, I am a loving, gentle, extremely passionate soul. There's more to that, but that's all I can give right now because that's all in the brain. And I am showing up positive.
Like that.
Thank you both for being here. I appreciate you accepting the invitation to come on and discuss this topic. Just for the viewers to know, we are all first, well, Shomari is our first cousin. LaVette and I are sisters, and then Shomari is our first cousin. And so this is the first birthday without our grandmother. So we definitely wanted to create a space for radical healing to take place, a place to just share memories. And so our other cousins and sibling was invited, and it's just not the time for them right now. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do a show with some of them on so you can hear a little bit more about what made our grandmother so special. So our first icebreaker question is, what have you done in the past month to practice self-care? And anybody can go first.
Ooh, in the last, I usually be trying to get myself pedicures for self-care. That's number one. That's important for me. Number two, I've actually past month, actually within this month, I'm choosing to take a big hiatus from social media and just social interactions in a way, just so I can focus on myself and like reflect on everything that happened this year, because I feel like that's important, because I know I give a lot of my time to others and not really give enough time to myself to really figure out my shit and like reflect and be like, what can I do better for this upcoming year, or for in the future, so that I can be better for myself and for others.
I love that. And unplugging is so healthy because we're especially now with everything being online. For instance, I have virtual school, so then I'm on for meetings, and so being online all day is not good for your eyes. And then going from a computer or a laptop to a phone all day and scrolling, all these things can be very unhealthy for us. So I like that you are practicing unplugging from social media.
Okay. For me, I try to do a lot of different things. A long bath is definitely one of my go-tos. And I try and take my breaks at work, even though in our discussion, I should be going out and walking. Sometimes just closing the door and having that time, to myself, just to regroup. And as far as other self-care, I did last week take 2 days off for no reason at all. You know, I didn't have to call in sick or anything like that. I actually took 2 vacation days. And for the most part, I stayed in bed and just did almost nothing that required brain power.
Mhm.
You know, spend some time with the kids. Yeah, just whatever makes me feel good and restores me for the moment. That's definitely where I'm going.
I love that. And so
Mm.
I'll just add, for me, I think just really being committed to stopping and feeling whatever it is, and taking the time to move through an emotion or a feeling that I'm having. And so this week has been an emotional week. And when it started off, I didn't realize really why. Just like here I was, I'm like, oh, I'm on one this week. But as I went through the week and stuff started happening, I realized my grandmother's birthday's coming up. So
Mhm.
subconsciously, I know I'm not going to be able to go to her house and sing, even though we sung all three versions of Happy Birthday last night. And it's important for me to stop and move through those emotions, because I feel like when you repress them, then later on they get triggered and then they may come out in different ways that may not be good for you or whoever you're connected with. So that's one thing. And then the second piece I would say, going to the ocean. So I went to the marina, actually was the last one I did, marina in San Francisco, and just sit by the water to get clarity, to help clear my thoughts and, really connect with my purpose and heal my spirit. And so I think those things have helped me kind of maintain in the last month. Oh, awesome. So I'm excited that we're all practicing self-care. That's awesome. Let's continue to encourage ourselves to continue to practice self-care, but also our family members and friends as well. I'm going to move us into our first set of questions. And the first one is, share a memory about grandma during your childhood that makes you smile.
I'll go since I'm older.
I was like, I was about to be like, do you want to go first?
That makes me smile. Grandma making us, with all of us being in the house with her. Was it like 6, 7 of us?
A whole bunch of kids.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This was before you were born, Shomari. Us all being in the house with her, and her going in the refrigerator and finding leftovers and throwing it together. And it's like, Grandma, what is that? It's whatchamacallit. You know? And every time I see a whatchamacallit candy bar, that memory comes back. And it definitely makes me smile. Because regardless, you might not have went to the store and bought brand new fresh groceries to make a fresh meal. But guess what? It might not have looked pretty, but it tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
And we were nourished. Point blank.
Yeah, that's an awesome memory, LaVette. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, there's a few. I mean, I wanted to talk about the time when she taught me how to play dominoes, but you know what? I think the one that still gets to me now, especially living in this house, was when her and Auntie, you guys' moms, slept over, and I remember waking up in my room and I'm like, what the hell is that loud noise? I'm like, and I walked to the top of my stairs. I'm like, who the hell is that so loud? I walk downstairs and I'm like, and I look at Auntie Mary, and I'm looking at Grandma. I'm like, Grandma, you slept good? She's like, huh? I was like, oh yeah. I was like, you were able to sleep through that? I was like, that's why I got these. And I was like, okay. And I went back upstairs.
That's funny. My mama a little lady, but she could call them hogs.
Man.
I was just like, wow, like she can snore. That is
And she had her tonsils in what is it, gonads? She had those out too.
glands or something like that, glands, but whatever. Yeah. Oh my God.
I think for
I was
me,
like, what the?
When we lived with Grandma on Buchanan Street in Fillmore, we used to go to church where everything. She always had us walking to church. And one night we was walking back, and the dope boys used to hang out in Buchanan Mall right there, and selling dope, whatever. But they always had a respect for grandma. And one night we was coming around the corner, and they saw her, and they started singing the song. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, before she eats you up. Oh, here she comes. She's a
Here she comes.
man eater. And I looked at grandma. Grandma busted out laughing. It was the funniest thing ever. The boys was laughing. We was laughing. It was just a really funny experience. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, grandma ain't always mean. She got a sense of humor. So it was really, really funny. I'm gonna move us to our next question. Name one lesson you learned from grandma that you still value today.
Ooh.
Mine is, in an argument, you need to walk away. And I think at times I took it too far. A couple times that I ran away. And it was me and her that was arguing. But it made sense. Sometimes you need to step back, take yourself out the equation, and then come back later. And just in this moment right here, I realized with my kids, and to me, I was like, oh, because I don't want to flash or be emotional. And, when I discipline them, I'll be like, walk away, go back, come back later. And that was her. That was her. That's not something I learned from somewhere else. And that was her. And when I was running away, I thought that's what I was doing, but that wasn't the way to do it. Don't run away. Just take a step back. Let's put it on the table, come back, revisit it later.
Yeah, that's what do they call that? Self-regulation, giving yourself 10 to 15 minutes to cool down so that you actually can express, okay, that's because a lot of times it's miscommunication, right? But I think given that time and space, and then once the emotions are down, you can speak through to say, this is what happened, and this is yada, yada, yada. Then it comes like, if more than not, it's like, it wasn't really an issue in the first place, was it because everybody was upset and yelling or whatever, going back and forth, you couldn't hear the other person. So thank you for sharing. Shomari?
Oh man, I don't feel like I have any like super life lessons. The only thing that really stuck with me the longest was the fact that she always was like saying, clean your nails, or why does your hair smell nasty? Like self-care, I guess, is what she kind of like got me like really into, and like being more self-aware about like these are like, I was like, those are disgusting, fix them. I'm like, and then yeah, it's right, because I'm like, now I'll be looking at other people's nails. I'm like, that, and it's stuck in my head. I'm like, do you not clean your nails? I was like, so I'm like, so yeah, I mean, I that for sure. I wish I had something more of.
That's it. It's not
more.
Nothing.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Cleanliness. What she said, cleanliness is next to godliness. So
Okay.
Yeah.
she loved her skin so soft and her Vaseline. I mean, I'm still using Vaseline. I don't care what nobody say.
I'll go ahead and continue using that. I'm just going to continue using coconut oil.
Yeah, my arm was dry, Shomari. This
You know what?
Okay.
That's just you. You have issues.
One lesson for me that stands out was elbow grease. And so when you clean it up, just don't run through it because you're trying to, get through the chore. But use some elbow grease and really clean the mirrors and clean the windows, just those lessons. And so even in my own space, I find myself laughing because I'm wiping down. I'm like, oh, I look like mommy and grandma doing this. And so just happy that I learned that, because a lot of people, they didn't get that. And sometimes, I just think that was a lesson that stuck with me, and I use that in my personal and my professional career as far as the spaces I'm in. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move us into our second set of questions. And the first one is, what do you miss most about grandma?
To be honest, I miss us
Her.
talking to each other.
Her presence,
Mm-hmm.
her being there, her watching her deal with the younger generation. I
Mhm.
mean, with us, she raised us. We grew up in her house. She was there every day. So to us, oh, she was mean. She was always fussing and this and this and that. And then to see how she interacts with the new generation, oh, don't be yelling at that baby like that, or let that baby do that. And you sitting there going, if it was me, I wouldn't have got that slack. I mean, what, and just I think with that comes that memory where her Shomari, I think Solomon was playing cards with her or something one day, and Shomari said something like, she said something, and he's like, "Oh, you a lie," and I got scared. I was just like, "Uh-oh, something finna happen," and she laughed. I'm like, what? What? How you like? So just her presence and how she, changed, and the difference as the older grandmother versus the younger grandmother, because she was my age really when we were little and living with her. So it's I miss that. I just miss her.
Mhm.
I just miss her.
Shay?
Mm.
No
I
crying in baseball.
that was a favorite thing to watch too. I need to watch the ball game.
Giants. Them
Yeah,
Giants.
right. Oh God. For me, honestly, I really just miss us talking shit to each other. I really do. That was like probably the most funniest times. Like, well, like sometimes she felt like I'll take it too far, then they'll be like, we'll get into like a small argument, and then we'll just go back to like, all right, so what you do today? I'm like, I'm and so it was just like, I don't know. I miss those times because it's like, I don't know. It was just our little way of how we have our interactions, and it was funny. And hearing her say some things that I just would never expect her to say, I was like, oh, it's like, man, you can't trust some of these niggas out here, man. I was like, wait, what? Huh? What did you just say? Or my favorite, I was like, not my favorite, but just like her just like being like blunt about certain things. And I'm just like, this is inappropriate. You're not say that. It's like, she's like, Chinaman. I'm like, what? Grandma, I have friends who are like some close friends who are Chinese, and she loved like one of my really good friends. She's like, "How's that boy doing?" I'm like, "He's great." I'm like, but so I do miss that. It was like it was, I don't know. It was funny. Like it wasn't her being hurtful or like just being like hurtful about people. It's just her just being like, it's just her. It's just
Honest and blunt. Just
honest and blunt. Yeah, and I think I
Somebody
low
why
key,
do I have to sugarcoat it?
Yeah, somebody
and I
said she
think,
used to shoot from the hip. Just shoot
yeah,
from
Yep.
the hip.
I think I get that from her, the bluntness.
And you got it early, so that's good.
Yeah.
Because most people don't start doing it today in their 40s, and
Yeah.
and are respected for it.
Yes. Oh God. So yeah, I miss those moments. I really do. Honestly, I think after she passed, I'm like, I think that's when I just started to like really be more blunt. So and I just started noticing, I'm like, I never used to be this blunt. I never used to say some of these things. Like, why is this coming out randomly now? Like,
You
what the hell is it?
got that Gloria Dean in you.
I think so. Yeah. No, that's why I feel like I'm surprised I'm not very emotional too. But you know what, low key, I haven't. I'm like, and I've been like questioning it too. I'm like, I feel like because I was there when she passed, maybe her spirit is still like literally around me. I don't know. Cause I'm like, I'm like, and I feel like I should be like, because I'm like, my most of my like memories are the last like last memories of her when in the state that she was in, and it just popped into my head. It's not like I'm trying to like think about it. It just popped into my head. So I might be going through like a little bit of little trauma from that. But at the same time though, like I do have sometimes like I'll have some good memories are more starting to pop up more now than the bad memories.
Absolutely. And
But
just
yeah,
remember that in the grieving process, though, you're gonna have those days, you're gonna have those moments. And so just give yourself space to move through those emotions and feelings because it's
Mhm.
gonna happen for a while. And we were really
yeah,
close with her. So yeah.
yeah, no, but yeah,
What about you?
but yeah, no, honestly, I just haven't been missing her as much as everyone else has, surprisingly. And I feel like I should because I was always, since I was taking care of her a lot.
Don't know, because I mean, for me too, I'll be like, everybody be like, oh, I'm crying. And I'm just like, okay, is something wrong with me? I haven't really cried. It hasn't really hit me, but we all grieve differently.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you're not as emotional about certain things, it's not that you're not grieving. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hell, she said don't be crying in public anyway. You ain't got to tell everybody you crying. You go in that corner, your little tears come out like ain't nothing wrong. I mean, so don't discount it. It ain't like you miss her any less than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So did I just get no? I'm okay.
No,
Okay.
really.
Rika, you gonna answer that question?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's two things I miss are talks. So I would call grandma at least once, maybe twice a month sometimes. It depends. During them stressful years, it might have been once a month.
Mm-hmm.
But she would let me vent and then she would give me some little pearls of wisdom to push me through to the next talk. And I just try to meditate on what she gave me, usually some scripture or just some spiritual thing that it would stick with me. And I miss her singing. I thought she was such a great singer. She like, no, I sang in the background. I said, but grandma, you have a pretty, no, no, no. Listen, I sing alto, tenor, and soprano all in one song. It's whatever's comfortable. She used to crack me up with that, but I thought she was a beautiful singer, and I really miss hearing her hum and moan and sing her little old songs because that really made my heart, warmed my heart to hear her when she would be in those moods.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your favorite grandma saying or expression?
Oh, damn.
Sitting out, no coffee.
Okay. I said the visual just popped in my head. I like when she say, like you hear somebody cussing or you know something that just for her spirit is just not good. She goes, ew, ooh, and this is like that whole face, and it's just like okay. And then I like the beat bop. Y'all be doing the beat bop. And she gets the I think those are my two favorites.
I've never heard her do that one.
You ain't never heard y'all like that beat bop.
And she was like,
Uh,
she used to do like that. And she danced. Don't let her been and had no communion.
no, I mean, God, I think my favorite one is just like when she told me to tell her, just say, shut up, crazy old woman. I'm like, yeah. And sometimes I don't even have to say, I just give her the look like, grandma, I'm doing what you were like. All right, so it's like, oh, just shut up, crazy old woman. Like, yes. That's like,
She did say that a lot. Like, I ain't falling for the banana in the tailpipe. You ain't getting me.
I think I got two. One of them is great God from Zion. When she can say that.
Yeah.
Something that used to, and nobody could say it like her. That was hilarious. And then when she be doing a talk or something at a funeral or she sharing out, and she go, huh? After everything, and that hum meant like, do you understand? Or you know what I mean? I know I'm right. That huh? And when she would say it, I remember at Nene's funeral, she spoke and she did a whole like long, she had wrote something up and spoke. And when the preacher got up, he was like, well, I don't really got to do a eulogy because mother already preached. Everybody cracked up laughing. But she was a powerful speaker. And yeah, so anytime she spoke, I love listening to her because you could just see the spirit coming through in her words.
I just knew you was gonna say one of your favorites was all that foolishness.
Oh,
I
stop
like
with all that
agree.
foolishness.
I had that one. She say, "Stop all that foolishness." But you know what? I think about one time when LaVette lived in Lakeview, and Shomari, y'all might have been little, but y'all was there. Kiana and them was there, and we was out on the back, and we was waiting on mommy to come finish the gumbo. She was late, of course, as always. And we was out on the back porch, and we was all jumping around and playing. And y'all had been inside for a while, so trying to run off some energy. And grandma looked at y'all. Y'all got this. We start being loud. She said, "Hey, this ain't the Western edition." And I'll never forget it. And Erica always, that's the one, Erica was there, and Erica always laughs at that. She said, "Shoot, we ain't in the Western edition if y'all don't knock it off."
Wait, and for those that know Lakeview and the Western Addition, we was on Dorado Terrace, which was on the Ocean View side.
Yeah.
So in the backyard, you can see the back of the houses.
St. Francis Woods.
Like the St. Francis Woods. Mm-hmm. So she was like, we in the bougie area. Mm-hmm. You know, y'all cut that out.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay, so I'm gonna move us along. We're in our third set of questions. So the first question is, how did losing grandma during the pandemic impact your life?
I think for me, in everything that was going on, it made me grow up just a little bit more and become that caregiver for my mom and my aunts. And so for me, it was whatever I can do during this moment that will take some of the burden off of them so that they can truly grieve. Mm-hmm. That's where I was. And maybe I wasn't able to grieve, not physically, visually, like everybody else, because I was being that caregiver, which isn't always good, but in that moment, mm-hmm. It was, for me, where I needed to be. And just us taking turns and, the whole mat, it was, forget all that. This is what's going on. We need to make this happen, fulfill her wishes, and just, in that little space mm-hmm. that she lived, to me, it was just us all coming together, and it was family, and regardless of what was going on outside, we came together. Okay, we can't meet. Let's do Zoom. So we had our Zoom check-ins. So it was, I don't think the pandemic lessened what we had to do, to deal with her death. I think it actually brought us a little closer and showed the maturity. We're where our parents were when we were, you know what I mean? So I don't think it really affected much. I think it just gave us a different direction. You didn't have all the outside people. It was like the core, our core family coming together and being there for us, and us feeding off of each other. And so, for me, in comparison, her service to Stephen's service, her service could have been like Stephen's service if we were not in a pandemic.
But it was still a lot of people for what we had for a pandemic.
Right. So because of the pandemic, it was very intimate, and it was almost like a one of our normal family reunions, but I'm not quite sure yet if I'm grateful for it during this time, or if I'm sad that other people couldn't participate. But yeah, that's my feel.
I mean, it was great to see all the first cousins together for once. For how long?
Right? 10 years?
10 years, damn, like it was great. And we all got to take a picture.
Oh,
uh,
got them pictures because I ain't seen them.
How
well,
did losing grandma during the pandemic impact your life, Shomari?
I can't even, honestly, so I took time off from work, and I was trying to renege on that time off from work because I'm like, okay, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to even, like, I need money. But then thankfully financial aid, unemployment was able to reprehend, I guess reprehend, is that the word I'm trying to use, was able to like serve me the way I need to be served, since like we're in a pandemic, and I'm like, and I would have been more at risk going to work trying to help take care of grandma at that time. And so just the fact that I had my time was just very available, and to be there to like help take care of her in her like moments, um it was the what just was supposed to happen, honestly. Like the way that, even though like there's things that I had thought I had control over, which is possibly the great that I didn't have so much control over it, and that I didn't renege on the time off, because I'm like, who would have known that grandma was gonna be in her condition? Because I literally saw her that month that I got that month right before I got the time off, and then like a couple weeks after that, she's in the hospital. So and also give me enough time to like really just be to myself and grieve, and just have people around me that I need to be around me to have these conversations with about missing her, and just like her being in her situation. So honestly, like it didn't impact me in a bad way. It was actually probably the best way for me to like deal with all of this, because if I had to go back to work, I already knew I probably would have lost my job, because I already resent my job already, and I knew that someone was to try me, I flashed on them straight up, especially within those first like few weeks before before we had the funeral, because I'm like, I'm just like, I'm tired of people's bullshits. Like if someone wants to try me today, they can get it. I'm like, they can really get it. I will get in their face, and I will lose my job. And I'm a shop
that
steward.
Was grandma.
So,
Wait, that was grandma.
Yeah.
Don't y'all mess with my Marty Mar.
Yeah. So it was great. Yeah. So it impacted me in the best way possible. So I honestly, I have to be thankful. I have to be thankful for the powers that be, and God for all of that, because I'm like, I must say, like, what happened. I know what happened had to happen the way it happened.
Absolutely.
And that's me being protected from everything, all the like negative energies of this universe trying to come at me. So
absolutely.
So yeah, it was good. It was honestly, it was probably the best thing that happened, to be honest.
Awesome. I'll say in probably 5 to 10 years, you will really be able to look back and see the impact. Because I think about that when my grandpa died 10 years ago, just watching him take his last breath, I could see the significance in it now. And so the same thing, I've been really doing a lot of reflection around grandma since she passed. In that whole, like my whole journey of this year, and how she was like guiding me in a way through some of the conversations we had prior to her death, and just watching her go through the valley of the shadow of the death with no fear. Yeah, she was moaning because her body was hurting, but she was a soldier. I remember she kept saying, "Oh God," and something. I get up and try to help her. She would say, "What you want? What you doing? I ain't calling on you. You can't do nothing." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I sit back down. She'd be like, "What is that girl? Why is she helping me?" But I think her experiencing that, helping with hospice, and just having those last conversations with her, even during hospice, has helped me to see more clearly, and has made me committed to developing my spiritual walk, even, really getting and developing it and making that a part of every kind of area of my life because it kind of guides you in those areas. And so all the stuff she said over the years to me just really kind of solidified for me watching her do that and get all of her wishes granted outside of being held at a church, her church. But even in that chapel, I feel like the same spirit was there, and everything she wrote down, we did it. And it was a lot of other people that were experiencing death that didn't get to experience what we experienced with Grandma's homegoing celebration. So I'm grateful for that. And it just helps me to be like, okay, I have to actually write out my what I want and get it notarized. Have my plan together so that I mean, there's always going to be little stuff to do that you have to worry about. We saw that, but when the bulk of it is already planned, that's less stress on the family to be trying to figure out who we want, who gonna preach, who gonna sing, who gonna do this. She already had that stuff figured out for us. And so I think for me, as I move through life, just really probably mimicking a lot of the behaviors I saw her do with her planning her own homegoing celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question in this third set is, how will Grandma's legacy guide your decisions on your journey of life, the journey of life?
Oh,
ooh, that's a good one.
You gonna repeat that for me?
Exactly, right? Is that even the questions?
How will Grandma's legacy? I skipped them around. How will Grandma's legacy guide your decisions on your journey, like moving forward?
I think at this point it already is. I think just her having everything planned out and kind of mapped out kind of pushed me to have that conversation with my kids and let them know, if something happens to me, this is, who, well, Evie's only the younger one, but still, even with EJ being his age, this is who is going to help. This is, and making sure that their dad knows if something happens to me. This is who's going to be their guardian, and making sure that, there is no opposition to that. That is my choice. And just doing those little things, making sure that everything is known, having that conversation. Because I remember her having that conversation, I want to say when we lived on Buchanan about that time. And Mom and them was like, why aren't you talking about this? Like, don't nobody want to talk about that. And it's just like, okay, when is the right time to talk about it? Especially now during COVID. When is the right time to mention to somebody, this is what I need? Write it down, tell them where it is. Though that, and just some of the funny moments, that we've had, being open, loving yourself, a lot of that stuff from her, I'm definitely absorbing, incorporating all of that. Mm-hmm. And the Vaseline.
Oh my God.
What'd you say, Rika?
Ice Cube, the villain does get with no Vaseline.
Vaseline.
Oh my God. I might have to have you say yours so I can really generate like what to even say.
Okay, no problem. And just for the viewers, I furnished these questions a few days ago, so they had time. So don't think that I'm sprung these on.
You know what? I didn't think I was gonna make it to this, so don't come for me.
I've had some feedback where they said, "Why you didn't get them people the questions prior?"
That's a tough, very thought-provoking question. So don't come for her.
For me, I would say a few years ago, I interviewed her around her educational experiences. Just on a fluke, I hadn't even started my doctoral program, but it's crazy because I'm actually going to leverage some of that when I write my dissertation. And she said at the end, I was like, what's one last piece of advice you could give me? And she said, take Jesus wherever you go, and you'll be all right. And so I think part of her legacy was that she really relied on the Lord for everything. She didn't, she didn't trust in nobody else but the Lord. And I saw that in her walk. I saw that along my whole 43 years of knowing her, but really in this last year. And so I think just making sure that I am aligned with the will of God for my life and knowing that wherever I go, wherever I end up, that He's there. And I know I've kind of had that along my way, but being more intentional now about making sure that all my actions, all the things that I'm doing is connected and Jesus is there with me so that I don't make the wrong choices and decisions or end up on the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. For me, oh God, she's never we know how blunt she was.
Mhm.
And I feel like with some things that she feel like she wished to herself because it comes off very like negative, but at the same time I feel like it's just you being honest. And I don't want to like make this sound like I'm trying to just like be brilliant honest with people, but I definitely feel like being honest with people and upfront is something that is definitely something I would like to take. I'm definitely taking more from, want to take a little more from her and like be confident in it, because I know there's things that she wasn't very confident in bringing up. And I want to not follow the same. I don't want to say it was a mistake for her to do that, because she was probably just trying to like save. She wants to protect whatever things she went through from, and try to protect it from herself and then from her legacy of us pretty much. But I don't want to, I'm gonna say like, and I've noticed that too, and I'm like, I don't want to actually do that. I don't want to hide my pain from anyone. I want to make sure that it's shown.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you know what I've been through so that you can be prepared to take the tools of what I went through and take it into your life and figure out how to, and then make sure that you protect yourself, because I'm not going to always be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Sho.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
share your authentic story, always sharing your authentic story, because somebody's watching and somebody's listening. And like you said, they may not take all the stuff. It might be one thing they take away. It might be 10 things, but that'll help them when they're in that position, right? You pay it forward so that when somebody else behind me is coming up, I can't be afraid to say, look, or be vulnerable, right? So I think that's powerful, I'm sorry, did we cut you off? We talkers.
No, not at all. I mean, shoot, that's pretty much. I felt like I was like, as long as that message got through, that's all that mattered.
No.
Okay.
And just the thing, you hadn't studied the question. It's just that's authentic.
Yeah. That's what my feelings is at about it.
Yes.
So I'm gonna move us into our final set of questions. We're doing good for time. I'm surprised.
Okay.
Okay. So I would love for you both to share out with the viewers any projects that you have going on or that you would like them to know about.
So for me, I got a lot going on right now. So I have a podcast. I am working on my 3rd episode for my Loving My Growth podcast. It basically just for me to share tips and topics to help you grow, show growth, show how you love growth. Growth is really a big part of my life, because with every day you grow, you learn something, a new word, something, you've been doing something one way your whole life, and all of a sudden you find out, oh, it's really supposed to be done this way versus that way. Growth. So my second episode actually airs on YouTube, Spotify, I believe Apple. I don't have Apple, so whatever Apple is. Um, December 24th, it will drop. So look out for that. It's me and Howard Lee talking about holidays. Um, and I am looking to do some merchandise for my Loving My Growth podcast page. Um, I'm trying to be more visual on my Loving My Growth page on Facebook, and I'm still working on Instagram. I'm not good at social media, so I'm growing with that. Um, so I'm looking to do like masks, cups, shirts, anything that's positive and um, shows growth, positivity, love. I'm working on that. And then I'm also working on a series for my YouTube channel, which is LaVette Grant. Um, just conversations with LaVette. And I'm working on that. So 2021 is going to be busy. And I like it because, especially somebody with mental health issues, it keeps me busy and allows me to funnel my energy into something positive that can help. I've done volunteer tax preparing for years. And people used to always say, you do it for free, you do it for free. It's like, yeah, because it was a way for me to funnel all that energy into something positive and giving back. So now, instead of going with somebody else's program, I'm doing my own and giving back the way I see fit.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Shomari?
Me, I'm launching my podcast as well. It's called Showing Pains.
Say that one more time.
Showing Pains. Showing Pains.
All right.
My stage name for it is Waldo. Because my it's because it goes with my Instagram name, the Wild Shomarius. So
Okay.
Waldo Show. And I'm pretty much going to be having guests talking about just connected pains with the guests that I'll be having on my podcast for each episode, pretty much. And I'm trying to like reach back out to some people who I've had we had connections with, and people I want to reconnect with, and see if they want to see if we can actually have that be our little breakthrough, and like see if we can rebuild on our friendships as well, and talk about why we stopped being, or just not, but not, that's just not the only thing I'm going to be focused. I'm going to focus on other, like our pains, like what's like pains that we've all been through together that we experience, and then but definitely I want to try to do also things where I can reconnect with people as well, and that's partial reason why I started the podcast. But yeah, so the first episode should be coming out beginning of January, so 2021. So I'm trying to like at least shoot, or like at least I record like maybe 2 or 3 this year before, and then like post them within this upcoming year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Shomari, what platform will your podcast appear on?
Oh, same thing. I'm going to be doing it through Anchor. So it'll be broadcasted on Spotify, Apple Music, I'm assuming. There's a couple others. A couple on there that I didn't even know existed. So it's gonna be, but Spotify is where. But Spotify, I know everyone you really use Spotify, so you can definitely find it on Spotify. Showing Pains is SHO-ING Pains.
Okay.
Thank you. That's awesome news. Just excited to hear about another podcast launching in the family, and just from our table building our community as a resource group. So that's awesome to hear that. And please make sure when you drop, you let us know so we can share to our social media sites as well. And I will be including links if you get those to me on this video, so that people can be connected to. If you have YouTube or anywhere else where they can subscribe, please send those over as well. So our last and final question, or not necessarily question, but statement is share one tip or piece of advice when dealing with the loss of a grandparent. Just with the viewers, just something that has carried you through that you feel like the viewers can benefit from.
Um, I think for me, she was ready. She was ready. So I kind of feel like it would be selfish to kind of try and hold on. So for me, it was more of like a celebration. That's what she wanted. She was ready to go. She was, she lived a full life, and she didn't die of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the positives, especially when they are up in age. It's like if it's a struggle to keep coming to see me or for me to keep seeing you wince in pain and there's nothing that can be done, then I need to do everything that I need to do to make sure that my relationship with that person is perfect. If there's anything you need to say to that person, say it now. Because really, a lot of that pain is regret. You regret that you didn't have this conversation. You regret that you didn't see this person. So work on your relationships with, especially our older generation. Ask the questions now, get it out now, because tomorrow's not promised to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see that you're getting this extra time, like we had her, she was in hospice. We had that extra time for her. Oh, tell so and so to come visit me. I want to see so and so. She was letting you know who to call, tell them to come. I want to see them. Everybody doesn't get that. So you need to take the initiative and have those conversations with your loved ones and make sure that you in your heart is good. And you can say, I release you. I release you to be my angel. And like Shomari said, she's still here because she was about to cut some people out. That's what Shomari. But yeah, that my advice is, solidify those relationships and, in your heart, be okay.
Sure.
What was the question? Repeat that, please.
Share one tip or piece of advice when dealing with the loss of a grandparent.
Ooh, uh, one tip or take it day by day. Just, you know what? Don't be aware of what you're doing and where your emotions are at and what you can stand and what you can deal with. Because it is painful. I was like, it's painful. Don't worry about about your if you're not crying, if you're crying too much, don't worry about that. Just let your emotions just process the way it needs to process. You have no control over that. You just gotta just go with the flow and just know that your grieving is different from everyone else. But make sure you know what you're like. Make sure you know what you can deal with at that moment and what you can't. Because I was like, you still trying to go and do the most and realizing like, okay, well, I'm projecting this all my issues onto someone else right now.
Yes.
So if you need time for yourself, take that time. Do not overdo it. Don't overdo yourself, because that's more energy that you possibly really don't. I'm not saying you don't have, but it's something is definitely not festering into the positive energy that you want to put out for yourself. So yes, take time for yourself and really focus on you at that point, so you can be there to be the best you that you can possibly be.
Yeah, and I would just add to that too.
Mm.
Miss Williams, Miss Donna Williams, Donna Nadiva Williams on Facebook, she always says, grieving does not have a timetable. And so we can't,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody grieves differently. And so we can't project our own, what we think, how much time somebody should have to grieve. And so that's the other thing. But that's what yours made me think about. And then my contribution, I mean, what I think of is relationships are hard. And so sometimes families can, the relationships in families can be difficult and challenging. But one thing that she instructed us was in her last will and testament was to love one another. And so finding the strength to love, even when you are grieving, even when you are facing adversity or challenges, just finding that sense. And if that means, okay, maybe I need to take some, like LaVette said, take a step away, and maybe I don't need to go in right then, but not looking to bite each other's heads off, but to try to find, some sense of common ground and just love one another through that process, I think is huge. Really trying to just love people where they are, because we all gonna show up differently. And I know sometimes you see certain people, you're like, well, why they didn't come help, or why they didn't do this? Some people can't manage death. I mean, we deal with death in different ways. And so I think just remembering to love one another. And so usually I would do the whole pearls of wisdom, but since we had this kind of collaborative conversation, I'm not doing that today. But I would love for us to end with the Flintstones version of Happy Birthday for Grandma and for the critical sense making audience on 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy
birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you guys for being on. See you next time.